Alright, I am live. Hello everyone, Breakfast Bandit here, and today I'm going to be playing some more Devoid. And first I want to say something that's actually been on my mind a bit. Just how Father's Day is coming up and well, how many times my family has done Father's Day in the past. It would have been quite bad if I couldn't do anything this year, to which I was actually trying to figure out some things on how to do that because I only really had Saturday to prepare, which I would have had to have gone up quite early to go down to store to get a JP Hi-Fi gift voucher because my dad really likes music and he usually buys stuff from there quite a bit. So, it was going to be a rush day, and I think that was a lot about what I was stressing about as well because of how I feel I've generally just had a few missed days or late streams lately, and I just generally want to stay consistent as possible, which probably the best thing that could have happened, and the best part was it generally was all me. It was something that I brought ages ago that I didn't think I would ever honestly need, and it was originally going to be a Father's Day gift because, well, I think it was actually going to be a birthday gift for him. Or even a Christmas one, I honestly cannot remember. All I know is me and my cousins were hanging out with their friends and they wanted to invite me around along, well, at least one of my cousins. It's usually her friend group and some of my other cousins just hang out with each other instead, and the hangout spot was a mall, and pretty much everyone was just buying things while I was just walking around, and for the most part I don't usually buy things, so I just usually keep my card in my wallet because I think a lot of the time I'm just a cheapskate, so I never really like to spend too much money on anything because I haven't got a job yet and my allowance is just purely off birthday money, so if I spend $15 on some Japanese snacks that I really want, then they're going to be finished instantly because it's usually not that much. So for the most part, as much as I want to spend copious amounts of money on traditional foods, I'm just gonna stick to the $1.20 packet of jelly beans because those just generally taste good enough to me. And at the time, I don't even know if I was gonna plan on buying anything because as much as those days where I usually go to malls have ended, it was actually something from one of those visits that I got to which I think my plans were to just mess around with my cousins the entire time, just running around malls, maybe on the mall playing hide and seek. There wasn't really much to the day that I thought I'd be doing. I mean, there was one thing that I was wanting to use up, and that was this EB Games voucher, to which I had money there, and I know that everything's expensive there anyways, because I think it was something like $24 for an action figure, or just $100 for just a plush toy, so I really wasn't inclined to spend anything else other from BB Games vouchers on that stuff, to which doesn't usually happen often, but sometimes my family just says, you know what, I'm gonna get Bandit an EV Games voucher because it's just something that can actually be wrapped in wrapping paper without it being just ripped if he opens it too quickly. Because it is quite the anticlimactic. You have to just send money in. I can see that because I think a lot of the time when I just say thank you to everyone who's given me gifts, it's just usually money, so I'm just usually saying thanks for the money, which just almost sounds rude. So I was actually looking online to see how do I thank people for money, and then it's just thank you for your generous offer. I will be sure to spend it well, and there was just all these way too up in the top formal responses, so I just did thank you for the money instead of thanks for the money like I did last year to some of my aunties, and some of them I don't even have contacts on because I got a phone just, it's not even that recent, I just usually only talk to a lot of my family just once a year. Sometimes we have trips down there. So I do at least want to say something to them instead of it just being, well, something I'm waiting for every single year to just, yeah, get money from them, which is quite bad. At least that's how I feel about it, but then again, my parents do usually buy them gifts on their days, and they usually say it's from me as well, so I suppose it's alright. At least that's what I'm thinking, but for the most part, I went to an EV Games and I just got this random as Boba Fett because me and my family were watching The Mandalorian lately, and my dad really liked that character, and for the most part, my cousin actually posted her story on Facebook, which just had the Boba head on display, and my dad uses Facebook regularly, so he was just saying like, oh, that's pretty cool, you got that really cool Boba head, and then it was just, oh darn, I can't give that to him. So then instead what happened is, I just did what I usually did and went with my mum, and she brought something, which it kind of made me sad. I mean, not really that sad, but I was feeling defeated because of that. Because, I mean, I know my cousin didn't really mean any harm, and I didn't explicitly say that this was a birthday gift, please do not post it, or, quite frankly, any way to imply it. Or at least I don't think I did, which, if I'm knowing myself back then and now, I still probably wouldn't. So just fast forward 2 years, and I'm streaming now. I post a lot of videos, just generally a lot, I'd have to say, and yeah, I just stumble upon it just after feeling super stressed about it, and it was generally a nice surprise to something that I thought would make me go out in the morning and stuff, and overall there is also the fact that I could just make a paper card too. And yeah, it's just a really convenient thing that's happened. I mean, I still could get my dad a card, but it will be just like a 3-hour trip just on the day that everyone is coming around to celebrate just Father's Day, so yeah. Because I think a lot of the people that are gonna come around are my granddad, and yeah, it's almost just a way for everyone to just give their Father's Day gifts to everybody. I really don't think I'll be available too much that day specifically. So it's just every other day, because then it'll be quite late when I'm going out. So it definitely does feel good to get it out of the way. Or to have had it out of the way ever since maybe like June 24th or something, 2023. So it definitely is something that is pretty cool. Plus I can just wrap it up with some leftover gift wrapping paper because I still have some in my room, I think, and even then there's probably some around. Especially how there was quite a few birthdays that have happened recently, and bibbidi bobbidi boo. Present for you. So I'm almost hoping that I don't get any wrapping paper that my parents have used recently to wrap presents. Because I mean, I may have signed all the cards, but I haven't exactly seen all the presents because they just usually keep them in one spot. And they only explicitly want me to sign the cards and just almost telling me what's inside without actually showing me the exterior, so... Well, or even if I do see it, I usually forget, honestly, but still chat. Hopefully, if everything goes well, I've got it down. Me. Worst thing before was going to like a 2-hour trip, now it's an hour trip, so that's definitely convenient. And actually, maybe it might have even been longer, who knows. So for the most part, definitely a big weight off my shoulder, and you know, I think about it, my day was pretty good. Because I don't know whether I said it on stream, but I definitely said it to my parents when I came through the door, just because of how generally well everything's been going. And it was something else where I don't even know what they're called. I think they're called harekeke, but they were like these really nice pancake balls that my teacher brought in from everyone, well, for everyone this morning, which was quite unexpected, and we all just stuffed ourselves because there was barely anyone there, and there were so few people that I actually got to take some for, well, other classes to eat. I mean, not exactly the other class, but just so I could eat in the other class. Because it's not 2 hours and then that happened. Actually, maybe more than 2 hours for me to actually go into another class in order to do that. Oh yeah, definitely were quite nice, and they were banana flavored too. I think there were some blueberry ones in there too, or some sort of berry. I am not quite sure. Yeah. So, next class I had was engineering, to which actually did pretty well on my project today. I mean, my welding was pretty bad, but all I really have is 1 or 2 days left on it, and I can just say that cursed lamp goodbye. Or tell that cursed lamp, I should say. I mean, I definitely like my teacher because he's turning it into an actual product, or project to actually use, because I just have not been giving him enough credit, because he's got all these specific tasks, like 4 power tools required in this project. You had to make 2 triangular prisms, one with a hole in the middle, and one without a hole, and there's just a pyramid. So it definitely is quite cool. Yeah, I think with my projects, I mean, one of them was just a moving berm, kind of like an engine type thing. I mean, my filing cabinet was quite nice, although I don't really think it was part of any assessment. It was just an extra thing. It was just like, alright, class. Filing cabinets, anyone? Just for anyone who had finished their previous project, to which I was much more ahead of the last project than, well, this one. I think a lot of it was just because of boredom when it came to the lamp, even though I do kind of want it, because it's one of those hanging lanterns. I mean, I don't really think it will look that good, but a lamp's better than not a lamp. If you get what I'm saying, chat. I don't know what it is, but this is really itchy today. Well, it's just started to get itchy. Hold up. Don't really know what that's about. But yeah. So I don't really think there are too many other standard cities really covered. It was actually quite funny that there was something just in there called the Nibbler, which is quite an interesting tool because somehow instead of cutting straight easier, which it can't really do, it cuts circles easier because it's got a little thingy that you lean on to cut circles with. So it definitely was quite an interesting tool to use, which I just used it to cut the outside of my work just because of how I just was content on using bench shears. Just so then I could technically use it. I did the same thing with the grinder actually, because I didn't really want to risk just destroying my work using a grinder, and overall it didn't really need to be used, and then I just grinded a tiny bit on a few bits of my project and called it a day. I mean, I definitely used the welder and drill, which are the other two ones that I had to use for the power tools standard. Now, even just drills and triangular objects are just not tricky, especially when it had to be a circle in the middle too. It wasn't just cutting a hole. It would be circular, so you had to just plot out a whole bunch of points as well to actually make the projects in the first place, and to actually draw it up. And then there has to be 6 different corners just to make it as circular as possible. At least the one of the circles, so then a lot of my class just had to, well, not really had to, they just didn't want to do it. Because I think in the end I just let Ezra do everything, because Ezra just scrunched up my work and said, this is how you do it. Because, well, he wanted to be in my group because somebody else who he wanted to be with wanted to be with me, to which I just accepted, and he said that he wanted to be the third wheel, so I suppose if he's pulling the carriage, then it's alright. And yeah, he carried. I think Ezra was a little bit angry at us when we just weren't doing anything because, well, I don't think any of us really wanted him in our group, but he did work well. I guess for the most part, I think I was just going to use the models that were just on my teacher's desk as a reference instead, because I don't think we had to have any specific sizes, and honestly, I just didn't want to do all the work. Because it would have been slightly bigger, because if I was tracing along the outside of an actual project, it would have already been folded, and it would just be a slightly bigger version of it, to which it really doesn't look bad. if there's only one to which it looks like that you meticulously measured every plot point and have done everything correctly, to which, well, I suppose I would have, but actually I wouldn't have. I mean, I would have to an extent, but yeah, for the most part, I don't really know if that tracing really does anything, because I do think I got some of my parts from tracing the already traced parts that I had, so even then there was also that. And for the most part, it was also a lot of waiting around, to which I think my teacher knew I was waiting for the welder to be installed, so I just played on my phone for a bit. But put it at an angle where my teacher couldn't see it, because a lot of the time he really doesn't like phones. So if I just face just straight up curtains just on the other side of the room, then he's not really going to get, because I had my project still in my hands, just almost holding my phone, so my project is blocking my phone. But then if you look at certain angles, you can see that I'm holding my project to make sure that, well, that there was these alligator crabs, and I think they're alligator crabs, I don't think but like, no, vice grips, and it was just the fact that they were loosely on, and if I put it on a table or something, it would have probably come off, and then just I would have had to align my thingy again. So which a lot of what it was today was, there was this triangle and there was this frame inside, and I had to align it up to the middle of the frame, to which what I actually did was just measure the middle of the two frames and the bit that goes inside, and then just had one line, and then just align the bit in the middle to the lines as close as possible, with the lines on that piece as well. I don't really know if I explained it too well, but that's pretty much what I did to line that up, and definitely was quite a nice shield. Because what I was actually playing on my phone whilst holding my project was just some more Magic Rush, and I've actually been trying to get this guy lately called Pandorus to his awakened form, because, well, everyone says he's really good, and he's the one hard counter to this tank I use called Leon, to which, to understand how Pandorus is really good, I'm gonna first tell you guys about who Leon is inside of this game, and what the game is actually about. Which Magic Rush is a 5 versus 5 hero battle simulator, as you will. Kind of like tabs, but then there are super ultimate abilities, I would say, and just a whole bunch of skills too, instead of just one weapon that you have. And ultimately the aim of the game is to level up your characters to as high of a point as possible, and I think a lot of what Magic Rushes are lacking is powerful tanks. Because there are just so many tanks in the game Magic Rush that is supposed to be good, or just have tanky abilities, but then they just don't have the defense to actually use them in time, to which a good example of this is Uther. You get a lot of his stars early, well, star fragments early game, to which they're used to upgrade his star level, and star level just upgrades him by a percentage amount. And the dude sucks. And he is one of the better tanks, to which what he does is he has a stun, which he stuns one guy and then heals, but yeah, he just gets absolutely killed within the first 10 seconds of a match, and with Mage here, it's just not being able to tank anything. It's very difficult to do anything in that game, so you want a lot of supports as well, because it's just one damaging unit can instantly wipe out a team. So usually what a good team looks like is just one attacking unit, maybe 2 or 3 if, well, either A, certain comps are used where there are no tanks, or just trying to get rid of stall, to which I think a lot of what Stall is, or is trying to be, is 3 tanks, this dude called Kratos, and some sort of really powerful healer in the back. Like, this one starter person, I forgot her name, but yeah, she's just really good when you give her enough time, but then just usually spread heroes just absolutely destroy that, so I don't even think you really need to bring multiple. And the other thing that's really good is there's this person who gives absorption and attack speed, to which you could just have just a whole bunch of marksmen and mages just... Actually, I think it's mostly just marksmen, and then they just deal a ton of damage and just heal up their health afterwards. And then a lot of them are area, so then a lot of the other mid-row heroes also have to come closer, so those teams are actually very good at the moment. Which is a lot of the reasons why Leon is just so good, because one of the things he does is he just lowers all physical damage at the start of the match, to the point where a lot of physical heroes, the heroes that are mostly trying to be stopped, can't just mow through an entire team within seconds. And another thing Leon does is he taunts people, to which there is this very good hero called Gorgana, which he counters completely, because Gorgana is basically Uther with how he heals and sucks, but Gorgana actually is the single most broken ability early game, to which she just has a massive spread move where the closer you are to her, the more damage she does, and she just one-shots everything a lot of the time, to which Leon, if used with some sort of attack speed hero, which I do use him with that, just taunts Gorgana before she can use that move, and then she takes a very long time afterwards to use that move. Which is even worse than her, well, it's even better than her ultimate too, which is a very interesting reality. And just because Leon is very tanky, he has a lot of lifesteal, and I think a lot of what they tried to make Leon is just this almost berserker type hero, which just has good damage, has good health, but then they just decided to give him all those stats because it's just thinking, wait a minute, tanks are supposed to be defensive, and this guy, he won't get used, yet he's got a really cool looking model. Let's just give him all the abilities, is what the game dev said. He even regenerates health when anything dies, including summoning units, so anything that summons anything, which there are quite a few summoning units in Magic Rush, he just counters. And for the most part, you see almost every team using him just because of how much health and bulk he has. And how you can use shields, because he also gives himself a shield, of course, and uses a shield with this other ability, which also gives a shield, called Beast Soul, which a lot of people use to make their tanks bulkier, and it's just impossible to deal damage to him, especially if Karas, when he uses ultimate, and then Leon just is basically invincible. Because there are often times where I just win with both Karas and Leon, to which, honestly, if you're going to use a healer, Karas is by far the best at healing one tank, to which a lot of why multiple tank teams of Karas suck is because a lot of the time, I mean, tanks do die quite a bit, so that is very much fair enough that they're not always used, but yeah, Karas is just better at healing one person in particular, and then that's just his thing, to just keep one person alive, to which a lot of the time you just lose a lot of your heroes around you and without any damage or any other support. The majority of the time it's a 5v1, so then Karas and whatever tank they're using, most of the time it isn't Leon, which is quite interesting. I see a lot of Gerbra, which that guy's only good if you have ultimate support, because the dude just gives a damage reduction shield at the beginning of each battle, to which, again, Leon absolutely destroys because that counts as a summoned. Because a lot of the time it actually takes a while for that shield to die. Then Leon just straight up one-shots, because not only does he regenerate HP from anything dying, but he also he also does extra damage, I mean, to any sort of shield. So, to say the least, he's broken. Leon is undoubtedly the best tank in the game, other from legendary heroes, to which those can take years to get. And I'm not even joking. I have only ever gotten 3 of them, and they were all either, well, easy legendary heroes that... Actually, they generally are just all legendary heroes that are too easy to get, because they're just in shops. To which, I mean, the other legendary heroes are, but it generally does take over a year to get the rest of them. So, it really is inconvenient to grind for legendary heroes early game. So Leon is just straight up the best hero to actually get you to the point where you can get legendary heroes, so he's just good. And even he compares to a lot of legendary heroes too. So he is just no joke in the field. He's tanky, he deals damage, he counters any sort of summoned units, he counters the most powerful mage in the game, other from this one mage, but she's somewhat pay to win, so nobody really has her. So I should think a lot about what Karina actually is just she's meant to be difficult, but then you can actually get her without paying, and there are ways to counter her as well, so it's not that bad, but yeah, curse Karina. Why can't you be easier to get? So, the hero that I'm actually talking about, the hero that I've hyped up for ages through countering, or really the only counter to the best hero in the game, Leon. And his name is Pandorus. Somebody who's been a pain in my ass for ages. And I just thought, why try to beat him? I'll have him on my team as well. Because Pandorus, he actually sucks early game. He is not that good, and his abilities don't really do that much damage. But then there's this really obscure thing called the Talent Shop, which gives abilities to heroes, or just an extra one, and Pandorus just happens to get the best ability that he could possibly get, being... I think it's even a Toxic Aura, I'm not too sure what it's actually called, but to say the least it's powerful, because a lot of what abilities do is they just do damage or give HP at the beginning of a battle, but then Pandorus's is different, because his one deals damage over time to everybody on the field, except for his own team, so basically every enemy that is enemying. And the dude has that up his sleeve, because I think he's the only ranged unit that has that, because I think there's another guy, but he usually dies and then revives himself, and I don't think his Toxic Aura can work while he's dead, or immobile, so he's not that good. So Pandorus is pretty much the only one who could even do this. And what actually makes him good is, he has his ability when he awakens, because the thing about Magic Rush is you have 4 skills until you awaken heroes, which take about 40 days to do of just daily stuff, so I'm not going to get Pandorus anytime soon. I think I've only done 10 shards out of 60, to which you get 1 or 2 each day, which is why I say 40 days on average. And what that ability actually does is, whenever Pandorus hits something, you have to regen a certain amount of health, or else Pandorus damages you for that amount of health. And a lot about what Leon relies on is just dealing damage and regenerating health throughout the battle, and just with how he just regens more and more as time goes on, which I forgot to say, because yeah, Leon gets more powerful each time, and a lot of what people do is use Sebastian, because, well, he gives attack speed, so then Gorgana's countered, and what he does is, he actually has this really good awakening ability, which I also use, which just rewinds time for a hero if they die, and with how Leon dies a bit, he's still weak for a tank, even though he is the tankiest tank in the game, because Magic Rush just has to be like that. Yeah, don't die, but yeah, Leon just dies, so then he gets revived to full. Karas really gains energy quickly, especially because of this gauntlet that you can use in equipment tab, so then Karas just heals Leon for the entirety of the battle, and with how Pandora's works, no one can use healing against him. It's impossible. Because with him constantly dealing damage to you, which it's supposed to be with just his attacks regularly, but with how many times people just revive against him because he only attacks like one guy. Attacking 5 guys is just broken. And he is generally untouchable at that point. Except if you kill him really quickly, a guy will be gone, but I haven't even unlocked that guy yet, nonetheless gotten fragments from him, so for the most part, every team that I see with Pandora's I just don't go to, because I rely a lot on just a balanced team being one or two damaging units being Pandora's, because he's even alright now, and a guy called Luke who just is, in my opinion, the best damaging unit in the game, and I got a lot of stars early on for him, so he's definitely used, and I did used to use Gorgana instead of Pandora's because Gorgana is just really good, but her awakening ability just makes it so everyone who's a physical attacker deals less damage, which doesn't really bother Luke that much, but at that point it doesn't really do that much more damage whenever Luke just has to attack and break that, so for the most part I'd have to say Gorgana is just not as good and not even really needed, because Gorgana and Luke do similar things, they're just very powerful spread damage. So I would say for the most part I like Pandora's bear just because of that, or even just somebody who just protects. So maybe like Rick, who just gives shields and lifesteal, which I don't think he's that good, but he does usually surprise me just because of how he just is good on every team, which I think that is why he's not so good. Yeah, for the most part, my main composition is Luke, Sebastian, Ras, and of course Leon. And yeah. That's pretty much why Pandora's is good. I mean, I really was able to say more about Leon because, well, Pandora's just has aura and that's it. He just kills everyone right off the bat because nobody can out-heal him until very late game where you have heightened defense and just, instead of just Kras as a very, very good healer, you have just 2 others who heal an infinite amount of health. Or at least one does, just this magic mirror person who just sits in the back, just chilling out. But then I haven't got her yet. Probably even the first hero that I'll get, because a lot of people go for this guy called Pyre just because he's better, but I actually find if I combo him with Sebastian or this other hero called Ingrid, they all just do the same thing when it comes to making sure one hero in particular doesn't die. And then Karas just heals a frontliner all the time. Well, really frontliner. He doesn't really heal a second one that well. There's a lot of times where I had this hero called Jacob. Karas just is like, hey Jacob, get all this HP, and then just Leon just withers away, because, well, usually at that point, not too many things are dying if you're just using both Jacob and Leon, because Jacob's whole gimmick is that he does a lot of damage to backliners, but then he doesn't usually cut through quite as easily, because I think a lot of the time Jacob's just bouncing a lot of things, so he's not that good. It's just actually quite sad how many tanks are just basically one-shot kills inside of Magic Rush, because it really does feel like if I ever see those tanks, I'm just like, well, they are cool, but they don't even last enough to get their ultimates off, to which they're just not good at all. Even at that point, the starter hero is better just because of how she can survive a little bit with her just gimmicky dodge thing. Which honestly, she does seem really good, because I feel like she's always the one who just survives through everything. And then again, I haven't really tested her fully, so I don't know. But yeah, I'll definitely pick her over Uther any day, because Uther just is supposed to be this guy who protects everyone, but then if he was just overpowered, then, well, if he got too much on him, then he'd just be too good. I was wishing that Kratos just healed more than one tank. Although then again, that would make a lot of people angry. Because Kratos right now is the only non-legendary unit that's just dominant in everything. Because people have tried using other legendaries to just counter him, but then there's just the big 5 of Magic Rush, because I've talked about the big 6 in Pokemon, where there is quite a lot of, well, unfair stuff in there, but then there's also the big 5 now in Magic Rush, just because of how this magic mirror person had to show up, and now everything is getting healed to full HP almost instantly. And then Pyre is still in the game, so he can just heal whoever's lowest, and then Kratos just heals the tank, because Magic Mirror only really heals the backline. Very convenient for Kratos, because, well, Kratos' main weakness is he doesn't usually heal too many of the backliners, and the Magic Mirror just doesn't have enough range to heal the front liner, so it really is just that type of comp. I mean, there is one guy called Doma, I think he is. Domania? I think there's definitely a better way to pronounce his name, and the dude, what he does is he just deals set damage, and he does it very quickly, so then it's always a chance that he kills something. Which is why he's always used as just the one damager, if you're not just playing complete stall, to which a whole bunch of random healers are used. But yeah, not nearly as used as Kratos, because I think some other people like Ingrid and so many others have been used. Actually, I'm wondering how good Sebastian would be. Because I just really felt like, I was just thinking, oh, Sebastian only has this attack speed ability, but it's a very good ability. But then, is it really that good? Is it really? To just awaken them, I mean. I already knew the attack speed was good. Which is why I actually just didn't awaken him, and instead I awakened a useless snowman. So yeah, I do remember regretting just not awakening Sebastian, because his ability just absolutely combos well with Leon. I mean, it doesn't really combo with Kratos, admittingly. I think if anything it does the opposite, because Kratos has an ability where he revives, and if anyone has any spread moves, then they could very much hit Kratos, and then Sebastian can be like, oh, hey, Kratos is lower than Leon. I'll go heal him, or just make it so if he dies, then, you know, Kratos just regenerates all of his health, to which, if anything, I feel like Leon is by far the most critically in danger hero of all times, and if one day it just changes to tanks being priority, then both me and Leon will be very pleased. Even though I'm replacing Leon as soon as a better tank arises. Because I think a lot of the time Leon is just very good against lower power teams as well. Because I think a lot of the time the heroes are made to be better against lower power teams just because of how, well, everything's just against, oh yeah, if enemies die then you regenerate HP, so then if you're using a hero that's just, if you're using just a whole bunch of heroes that are just meant to counter high tier teams, you've also got the counters against that too, which that is also really nice, so then it's just not just a rock, paper, scissors, it's just balancing out your teams to make sure that you counter for everything. Like, I think Gorgana's the main thing that just counters a lot of these guys, and that's why I just really like to see Gorgana on high power teams, because my composition is generally just made to counter them. Because a lot of people, when they use Beast Soul, they usually use this shield Beast Soul thing, which makes it so, yeah, your tank just gains a shield when ever. Don't really know how often it is, but it's pretty often and it's pretty widely used. I think you even get it for free. But I have gone out of my way to get this other Beast Soul thing that just makes it so your tanks can only take percentage damage, 6 HP per hit, 6% HP per hit, so that has definitely made Leon survive better, or at least long enough so Sebastian can actually give him the time revival thing, because sometimes he just dies that quickly against high power teams, which is fair enough. And yeah, I generally find that I use Sebastian a lot, so Chad, if you guys ever play Magic Rush, make sure to get Sebastian's Awakening. I mean, there are better ones like Karas's, Pandoras's, maybe Leon's, but for the most part, Sebastian is by far the best when it comes to Fractilla or Crusade, because a lot of those have a lot of very powerful heroes that you have to fight. And it's usually against high powered teams, so then if you can just revive your tanks twice, because he also has an ultimate which revives somebody, he's the only one that can do that. I mean, they are locked into auto, so you can't really choose when to use their ability next to time that perfectly. Sebastian would be that much more broken then, but it certainly is quite a good hero for a game like this, because I think a lot of the time I just buff support, so then yeah, tanks are just not horrific. Another tank, other from Uther, who is completely dog water, is this samurai guy who looks amazing, because his gimmick is just he attacks. He then attacks behind an enemy, and then he has this blade circle which hits the entirety of the mid row, to which a lot of the time what happens is he attacks, goes behind, stuns somebody, does his knife's attack, and then he dies. To which Morgana is much better at doing damage, and she has a very high chance of living. The samurai guy doesn't, to which he looks cool, but he just does nothing. So it's just sad just watching, is just seeing him specifically, because everybody uses him because he just looks that awesome, but then he just does not know how to live. He can't even use his ultimate. It's been ages since I've fought a team, even when I've lost due to the rest of the comp being good, and he just hasn't used his ability, which heals himself and just gives everyone a magic resistant shield, which is quite random because he's usually a physical attacker, but for the most part, the dude is weak, and he doesn't even regain that much HP. He just gains invincibility, and then a whole bunch of heroes just go after the midline instead, which really isn't that effective of a way to heal and do that, because there are heroes that can generally go invincible, like this hero that I've, well, not really leveled up, called Vala, who just goes to the front line and decides not to take damage for like 8 seconds and then I mean, she does take a lot of damage, but just that has helped me in a lot of Crusade battles because it's just her with a divided amount of power compared to everyone else. It's like 2 or 3 times less. And then I still find myself using her because I have 3 tanks, and a lot of what Crusade does it bans your heroes, so I just find myself just going in and thinking, I think it's time to use a hero that guaranteed survives for like 5 seconds instead of death instantly. To which, yeah, Vala's nice. Although that's pretty much all I use her for. I think she is a very good use of Kras too, because she just gives so many shields to herself. And they're not as good as Leon is, or even... Actually, I think Jacob's quite nice though. Yeah, I think she is just known for invincibility and then death all the time. I mean, she also gives damage resistance too, so she definitely is quite nice. Yeah, for the most part, wouldn't really use her. Oh, there we go. Damn it. So that was pretty much Magic Rush in a nutshell through a talk about engineering. Hopefully you guys weren't too bored, and yeah, for the most part. Something else that I also forgot to mention was I was practicing more thorough Tokyo Heights because I think at this point, seeing as though I actually have skill for a bit, I'm just gonna put Cole's, well, the secret ending on Cole's on hold because you guys haven't watched anything on the secret ending yet, and that was just more of an endeavor for me. I'm still disappointed that I lost on the boss fight for that. Because I know I can beat it, but it's just stupid how many times I've just fallen on the last floors and just ultimately loot failing floor 13, and I spent a nasty amount of time in there, so I don't really think I'm gonna go for that too much. I mean, not nearly as much as Devoid, but I do think I would have spent like 30 hours of that in a week. And then it's just failing. So I don't really want to go back to that at the moment. Actually, I'm also playing Devoid in the same, well, just every day as well. Just after I get beaten up by holes. I'm not beating, that ending yet, so, yeah. Still do really want to get to prison too. Been far too long. I need to always remember to move forward in case I go too back on that. It's just embarrassing how many times I've just fallen off on that ladder. So many friend requests today. Oh yeah, chat. If any of you want to request me, you gotta say on Twitch that you're requesting me in order to actually get accepted, because if I just accept every random person that I have, then I would have twice as many friends at least. I mean, before I had over 1,000 friend requests, but then I ignored a lot of them. Or really ignored all, just to see if it would lag Roblox, which it didn't. So I don't think I ever will again. So yeah, for the most part, that's pretty much what I'm doing. So yeah, if any of you guys do wanna put me on the list, hit the Twitch chat. Because it has actually surprisingly worked for some people as well, just some guys just find me on Roblox and want to request me, and then I just tell them to follow me on Twitch, and bam. Not yet. I definitely am so glad about finding a Father's Day gift just in my wardrobe, just in a drawer that's been sitting there for a bit. Well, that's usually what those little thingies have. I wish I could see what it's called. Oh, they're just called Pops, I think. It's like the brand Hop or Pop. Pop figurines. Definitely is quite nice. Yeah. So after engineering, actually I almost couldn't eat the free food just because of how many just pancakes I had. The traditional pancakes. They don't taste quite as good as regular pancakes. But yeah. I had those, and they didn't really do fill you up how to kick it. So yeah, I just was struggling to eat the free food because I just ate so much. I mean, in the end, I don't even know what it was. Maybe my body was just trying to digest stuff at the time. I was just like, Bandit, wait. We just need 5 more seconds, please stop chucking food. And then there was just suddenly a time where it's just like, wait a minute. I'm actually hungry again, and then I'm just able to eat more, which was quite funny. To which I finished the free food, which was just a simple chickpea curry, but I do quite like the sauce there, which... yeah, it was definitely nice, so I ate it. And it's one of those things that look bad but actually taste good. Or look stale, I should say. Not exactly bad, but definitely is, well, not really my favorite meal, but it certainly is a healthy one, which is quite nice. So I definitely am wanting... not really wanting more of that at the moment, honestly. Because I had one of those junk food spending days where I got a bit of junk food for myself, so I can just chow down on that instead. I mean, for the most part, any other day of the week after I just fill myself up with some Flaming Hot Cheetos and Tim Tams, I would, yeah, want that free food any day. So then me, Kanye, Yor, and some other friends just played some more cards, and actually played a game that we hadn't played for a bit, President, to which it was actually really fun because how you play that is it first starts with the 3 of clubs, to which whoever has the 3 of clubs places it down. And then they can choose which way it goes to, well, have whichever person start that they want that's next to them. And they also place the card down, so they technically start, but then the actual person who does that also gets to place a card, so... yeah, for the most part, that was quite fun. And I got very lucky with my cards for once. Because my first game I had quite a lot, and it was... I can't really remember exactly the amount of cards I had, but I had 2 10s, 2 9s, and quite a few other decent cards too, to which I think my plan was just to wait until everyone places 3s, because 10s are power cards, of course, because 10s are always power cards in games that I play, for some reason, and it pretty much just switches the dimensions up, and it makes it so lower cards are higher, which lowest card is 3, so I was just waiting for everyone to place their 3s, and I also had quite high cards too. I think I had a Joker even, to which I placed that and won, and then I placed 2 tens and set it to lower. So then I got another one, because when you win, you get to place more cards, so then I just kept winning, and I then won the entire match because of that. And because you had 2 tens, 2 nines, well, really I didn't lose, admittingly, because, well, I was second to last, but yeah, my other cards were actually booty. The second game, though, I actually had good cards, which I had 3 twos, then a Joker. To which, it's played with a regular 52 pack, and 2s are the second highest card, and I had 3 of them. Also had 2 aces as well, and I was just steamrolling through everybody, and the only reason why I didn't come first was because there were card rankings in there, which technically count as Jokers. I said at the beginning, alright, if anyone has any card rankings, just place them down, to which I only saw 1. Boss Man kept his. Which it did kind of spoil my plan a bit, because I saw somebody place a 2, saw somebody place a Joker, to which I placed an ace, which that would have been the highest one, to which he just said nope. And then placed down his buddy. Card rankings, to which in the end I had another ace, so I placed that, and now nobody could actually win. And then I just placed triples because I had 3 jacks, 3 twos. And actually, I think the 3 twos was even what got Jokered, which is quite bad, but yeah, I think I came either first or second in that round. I'm not quite sure. To which I was kind of mumbling in the background just because of how I would have easily won if I got that extra turn, because it was just the guy next to me who won, which it was Yor. Because Yor's actually surprisingly strategic when he has cards, which is quite nice, but I don't know. It just always feels like Boss Man just grabs stuff. I mean, he is fun to hang out, but sometimes when he just grabs something that's obviously overpowered. Eh. And then I just went back to class, and it was math, which it was just one of those boring lectures that a lot of math teachers just give. And I was inclined to listen because Mr. Math just very much is kind, and a lot of the time he just lets me do what I want, because a lot of the time he just teaches me the stuff and I don't usually forget it, so he just allows me to do what I want just because of that. So without he actually wanted me to listen for this lesson, I was just doing that the entire time. And it was just a lot of circling just very out there points in a graph and just writing some stuff about it and solving some equations, so ultimately it wasn't so bad. The class did feel like it went on for a bit. Probably should have drunk more water during that class, but for the most part, math was alright, and I then went off to English, to which what I did mostly was just watch Delza. Or really watch Delza, I should say. And then he was just playing an obby that just doesn't like anybody, so I suppose that was fun. Something that was quite funny was just there was this spinning truss in there, and Delza was trying to climb it even though he found a secret exit. And I was just thinking about any poor souls who actually stumbled across this and did not know that there was a secret exit, to which that floor is just extremely long if you don't do the skip, so for a lot of people. I mean, I feel like I would have seen it easier if I was just on my PC, because a lot of the time I just have my Chromebook on just the dimmest light possible that I can actually see because of how many times it goes low. Because at this point I would rather look more than having to almost charge it up each night and having to remember that. And then also thinking the fact that, well, the Chromebook might just lose its battery life if it just is charging all the time overnight, so I just decided to charge it during my classes, especially how it just doesn't really charge as much to the electric bill and helps my family, so I don't think that's such a bad thing, even if it does the opposite to my school. There are so many times where I've just charged my Chromebook throughout my entire vocational class. It's just a really convenient spot to charge it, chat. Especially how I usually get to use it all the time, so I'm always inclined to think about it. Damn it. I need to try and balance just walking onto the ladder and making sure that I'm just not climbing to the top if I'm positioned correctly. Oh, dang, that wasn't it. Really do need to get better at that. Yeah, I'd say that's good. And I failed that jump. Damn it. So overall, it's just me watching Delza, and then my teacher just gives me something that I need to submit, which, or resubmit, I mean. Because I thought I originally got it because I thought I did good, but then it's just English. It just feels like with English a lot of the time, it's just them being like, nuh-uh-uh, and they just make you do more things. Just anything with words. Because it's just so much easier for me to do math because it's always just simple. It feels like there's one new problem that's being put in your face and it's just a way to solve it just pops up, and then even a second way I can find. But then there are just so many ways to solve English, it's just tricky for me. Or at least that's how I feel about it. Which I know there are English and math people, but and it's overall, math just feels easy when you're non-statistics. Because it's just writing in statistics as well. I'm gonna have to do a lot more writing too next year, because I'm picking something with statistics and a lot of English elements, so hopefully I don't completely mess this up, but for the most part I've done statistics before, which a lot of people might not have, so maybe that might boost me a lot. But for the most part, I don't know how many people are going for psychology as well, so it could just be that a lot of people get kicked out too. But for the most part, my university's just said, we don't really care about what you actually get, we just care about how quickly you post your application, to which I'm gonna try and get that in as soon as possible, so if all goes well, I should actually get to university alright. So it definitely will be quite nice to actually see it. Well, see how that goes. But for the most part, I'm just gonna have to wait for every one of my results to go in first. So for the most part, still needing to get that damn business assignment done, because I have actually figured out that there are resubmissions for it until you actually get it. My teacher was just like, I could keep it at NA, and then it's just, well, it's a guaranteed class, dude. I could still theoretically keep it at NA. So then, yeah, it was just that. Yeah, I do try my best to fix some things, but for the most part, a full person assessment when only one person's really doing much on it anymore, it's just tricky. Especially it's a university entrance subject as well, which is mildly known for being more tricky than regular subjects, so for the most part I'm just gonna have to do everything and almost act like I'm not doing everything to my teacher, just because of how, well, my teacher threatened at the beginning of the year. If there's somebody in your group that just isn't doing anything, you'll fail, and then it's just, I have to cover for you guys with work and write it in a way which it looks like your guys' stuff, to which that's definitely been fun. Because of one person who's constantly away, one person who's decided his whole personality is doing nothing, and somebody else who did stuff, but then has given up on school because, well, he's drinking too much alcohol. I mean, him I can feel bad for, the rest, just no. So for the most part, yeah, I really do not like this assessment because of that. Especially how it is the thing that I actually need to get into university in the first place, so that'll definitely be fun. It definitely is better to know that I can't actually fail this. But still, I just wish my teacher would just work with me on it. So I think I'll just ask him to say, can you go with every group to actually work on this assessment? Because it's just, dude, you're supposed to teach this. You've always been saying tips and tricks, and we have to ask questions to almost explain them. So can you just come to us so then we can just ask as we're going along instead of having you go to every student in the class before you come back to us and then ask it? There's one, I generally wouldn't mind if it's just every group gets a class with them to just get their work sorted. Because then, once it's our group, then it would be 5 lessons instead of 15. It generally feels like it has taken 15 lessons for anything to happen, and it's a number that I just pulled randomly, so it might not actually be a reality, but still, chat, it is just annoying. So then, my next class is... I don't even know the next class, because I've explained English already. Just watching Delza and having to do something on a resubmission from English. So then my next class is... next class. Next thing I did was just play cards again. To which... maybe just played some more President, and I actually think I told a lot about what happened at lunch rather than at morning tea, because I think morning tea that was just a regular game of President, and I did win. Maybe that was one of 2 10s and 2 9s. Yeah, for the most part, that game of President was kind of anticlimactic. So, even if I did win, it wasn't that fun. Yeah, for the most part, it definitely was fun to play President again because of just how it's done and just overall, instead of just randomness, like 3 down, or psychology, like 3 down, it's just a game where it's almost strategy and luck, to which I think I will just try and get my friends to play President every time. I know my friends really wanted to during lunchtime after I mentioned it, so it definitely was quite nice that that was a reality. And yeah, for my last period, I had sports, to which it was quite a bit that happened during my sports class, actually, because my teacher was saying stuff like, oh yeah, if you guys don't bring a spare change of clothing, of clothes, then you guys are failing this assessment, to which I was then very inclined to bring clothes to this assessment, just some shorts, so then I don't just take off my school shirt and then have that be it. And I just, yeah, got changed, got back in, and it was starting, and my teacher was like, alright, everyone in this class basically fails, except for Bandit and this one other guy who had uniform. But then he only realized that there was another guy who had uniform after me, so it was pretty much Bandit passes, you all fail. To which that isn't actually reality, I think. I think they'll just have to have an extra lesson where they do have gear. So I do have just a day to do what I want, which is pretty sweet. So then we just went and did a whole bunch of stretches, and it was certainly interesting because, well, there was one where you had to touch your toes, which I can't even get past my shins. It was almost just under my kneecaps to where I can go. But then there was another one where you had to do the opposite and you had to touch your heel to your butt almost. Or really, somebody else just puts your leg there, to which I can just do that regularly, so everyone just was struggling, and then I was just having somebody do that, and it was just surprisingly easy, and it's just like, Bandit, you okay? And it's just, yeah, I'm fine. I can do that well. And then there was also another one where it's actually lit to chest, or like to belly, or as far to that as possible, to which that one quite hurt because I still can't really go far with that one. And then you just had a partner, so you were doing it to them as well. There's one specifically that was actually quite satisfying to feel, to which what was happening around that stretch is you just had to have your shoulders on the ground, arms spread out, and then you have your leg just pulled to the ground on the other side, like if it was your left leg, it would be on the right side, and then it just, I don't even know what it stretches, but there was just a lot of people who had a lot of cracks there. It's just like, I don't even know how to make that sound, but it was just generally satisfying when I had mine done. Some people were just very much afraid, but yeah, I think I just got very wide hips, so I could very much go very far because of that. At least I think. Because a lot of my stuff is just spread out on my belly. I was making room for my stomach at this point, to which I eaten ages ago. Actually, that's a lie. I think I did eat during English because, well, I felt like pancakes and I just happened to have some in my bag, so I ate them. Actually, I ate 9 how to kick it balls today, which definitely is my record, even though I feel like I could eat more, honestly. I think it's just to do with how many my teacher usually buys, to which people just usually take 2 and move on. Even 1 at some point with some people, so yeah, they're definitely tasty, chat. They may not be actual pancakes, but they certainly do taste good. And yeah, we also have to write about those exercises too, and it's also quite a satisfying walk home as well. Sure, it's boring. Alright, I'll stop. So, I'll speak actually, because I don't know if that's still on. Anyways, chat, I'll actually speak now, so. Then, me, your, Kanye, and some other guys were just walking home, and I need to drink some water, so then me and you just hang out with each other, and yeah, we all went our separate ways a bit. And for the most part, it was just quite nice. I mean, I did get home 5 minutes later because I usually just walk so fast that nobody can really catch up to me, or really feels like catching up to me, so I suppose that's something. That's just a perk that I have now. I think it's almost because of how impatient I am, and generally how I just really want to get home in time, just so then I can stream a lot of the time as well, so yeah, for the most part I felt good just walking. figure out to do that properly. I've also been listening to this song called Carcass of the Sea. I don't know why, but I just feel like sounding like that one person from this ad. Because there's an ad in New Zealand going around where there's just somebody's like, oh, I think this might be too complicated for me. And then they just talk like that the entire time. Oh, actually, less steps than a margarita, to which there's just a dog with a bowl cut. And then she's also got one, so... yeah, she's just got ads on her channel now, I suppose. And then I'm just showing how simple it was. It's kind of a weird ad, honestly, chat. But for the most part, it's rememberable, so I suppose that's good. I just feel like I'm sounding like that at the moment. To the point where I just have generally forgotten what I was talking about. Damn it. Oh, you're right, Carcass of the Sea. I've always quite liked the song, but then sometimes it just gets boring because it's just a little too gloomy for me sometimes. But for the most part, I feel like it's a very easy song to sing because it's only really a guitar and a guy, and well, I have half of that, so I can do it quite well. And maybe I might learn guitar eventually, chat. I think it will just be to learn Carcass of the Sea, if I'm being honest, just because of how easy of a song it seems to learn. It's just like one type of strum, another type of strum, another type of strum, another type of strum, back to the regular strum. It doesn't even seem tricky. I think there was even a guide on how to play it, to which I was actually originally just gonna write out the lyrics a whole bunch of times because of how a lot of the time writing things makes me remember it well. Because usually what I actually do to remember things is to just write it on my hand and then I don't forget it. Even when the ink washes off, I think it's just something about how my skin heals, just how it always has to be like, that's something that I've actually done to my hand and then my body just really feels a lot of pain, I think. Not really strain. I think it's just almost the fact that I just feel everything. I'll just remember it through touch almost. I think that's why I'm such a practical person, because I'm just able to do engineering stuff pretty easily, because I always remember what I measure it by, just due to how it's always something different, and I also like whacking things with a hammer, and if I'm thinking, if I measure that, then I'll be able to whack it with a hammer, and then that's just my motivation for everything. As much as I don't like using welders, I think that's the majority of the reason why I'm not really going to go into engineering, just because of how welding is just not really my thing. There's just too much gas that just comes from it. Really fumes, actually, not really gas. And it's said to be that the fumes are more toxic than vape, so I'm just not inclined to find out about that. I mean, you do get masks, even though they're paper, but yeah, still don't like it. I don't think the paper masks are gonna encourage me, chat. I just have a feeling. Yeah, for the most part I could be a full-fledged engineer if I wanted to. But yeah, something that's quite funny is, now that the years have passed by, there was actually a very big shortage on engineers, and just with how many people want engineers, but now it seems like there are too many, which is quite funny. So then before, it was just all my teachers saying, oh my goodness, guys, there's a very, very big demand on engineering right now, and then it's just, they just suddenly are quiet about it just after a few years of training, because it's just, they've got too many now because there aren't enough people to actually train all the new engineers to their specific jobs, so there aren't any real places opening up for engineering type stuff in New Zealand anymore, which is quite funny. I mean, in Australia it still has a lot of stuff, but then you have to pay to fly there, and it's just... I don't know. So overall, I wasn't really gonna go into engineering anyway, so definitely it was quite nice that, well, it's not really affecting me because I still think that there is a semi-demand on psychology. So hopefully that's still relevant in the next 3 to 4 years. Because of how I've generally been in engineering for 5 years now. So yeah. Hopefully it all goes well because I think a lot of the stuff in psychology I've also done as well. Like I've done business, I was interacting with people, selling them things. I know that there's a lot of psychology in business. I've done statistics. A lot of psychologists look at statistics to show them things because, well, a lot of the time when somebody does something and then they do it a lot, then you're inclined to see a lot of statistics on there. Yeah, it's just overall quite a nice skill to have, I feel. One of the main reasons why I'm actually getting it is because my parents say I can just, well, have them pay for a year at something. So I'm just thinking, well, not really into any regular jobs, so I'll just do something that just... No way I just did that. Wait. They got an automatic lining thing here. I can do that? Okay, that feels quite ambitious. Still doesn't work. Alright, I've definitely learned more about this area. Huh. So I can generally just move my camera a whole bunch and then I can just almost complete it that way. Well, I think it was even to the point where my arm was cutting through the stud that I was trying to get to. So it definitely is a possible jump that, well, I've already completed it before, but yeah. It definitely is good to know that if I just wiggle my character, just the map allows me to align myself perfectly for that. Because I think I do need to be more ambitious when it comes to the turn. Definitely would be nice. Actually, I don't know if alignment keys actually work on that. It'd still be nice to test though. Because of alignment keys, they don't work in Devoid. Definitely makes the regular no board nice though. Just because of how that is in reality. I don't even know why I'm holding down left click. I think it is almost just a hobby now, because I think a lot of the time I do that. I just rest my middle finger on there. It definitely does prove that my picture's only really for me though, so that isn't really so bad. Oh yeah. It was actually quite difficult to follow with what my teacher was saying because there was like there were just 3 boxes in this assessment that we were doing after all these stretches, to which I don't really remember what any of the stretches were, and I really didn't know if it was going just left to right or just getting one comment in particular and then going on to the next one, to which it was more like one comment in specifically that you actually need to put down for it to count as an actual comment. To which I didn't hear that, so then I was just thinking, what other comments could I use? What else is he saying about the specific exercise that he's mentioning? And then I just am doing a lot more than I need to which my teacher was just like, Bandit, you're only supposed to do 2 boxes, not 3, to which she's like, well, to which I was just like, what? And then it was also the fact that I could just say nice job is just one of the feedback box ideas or something. Just one of the assessment comments. Or assessment comments. I don't even quite know how to word that, but yeah, for the most part, he could have been much more specific about it. Well, or to make sure his entire class actually heard, because there were multiple people who were doing this mistake. I'm actually wondering if it was just the lazy people who really didn't want to do work, who only did like 1 or 2. Because I think a lot of the time it is just that my class is lazy, so I don't think anyone would have actually known that, and he just does it partway through. Because my sports teacher is definitely interesting. He is very good at just doing sports activities, but then he just sucks at writing, to which I feel like that's a lot of what sports teachers are about, but yeah, that is just really social. He doesn't know how to put it on paper. Because my sports teacher definitely is just one of those guys who just gets a crowd roaring. It's just almost like one of those presenters that you see in movies, just almost kind of like the spokesperson, and it's just them having fun with it. It was like one of those almost Borderlands type style, where there's a producer from there, or Splatoon, those type of people. Just trying to have as big of a screen as possible on you. And then he just, yeah, doesn't know how to really put those feelings down. He's creative with his words when it's just not on paper, which is quite funny. Because yeah, he's definitely an entertaining person, that's for sure. He definitely knows how to get across, well, morning, like I said before. I mean, definitely was funny how I took the spotlight from him one time during this color run where he tried spraying me with paint, but then I just ran in the opposite direction because I caught a glimpse of Kanye who was helping, and it was just this giant ass chase. So yeah, that was definitely funny. Overall, I would say I like my sports teacher. Definitely more than my business teacher, which I would have to say that I do really like all my teachers. Every single one of them are really good, but just almost feels like with my business teacher, he just is like, oh yeah, this class is just not stressful. You can get everything done, and then it's just nobody's ever really failed this. And then he's just like, if you don't do these, I can keep your assessment at NA. And then there's just all this dissecting of what he's actually talking about with how you said this word too many times and then it's just only said twice, and then I just ask him, oh, you're not supposed to say that word at all, so I have to delete that, and then it's just a whole bunch of stuff, and then it's just like, oh yeah, this part should be in the conclusion. Conclusion of the segment or conclusion of the entire damn assessment. So I tried to ask him that, and he was just like, oh yeah, you're supposed to put that in the conclusion of that segment. Well, at least that's what I thought I heard. Before I could just get anything more, it just goes to another group for another 40 minutes, and the bell is already rung, and I'm just waiting for him the entire lesson. So it definitely could be better. So yeah, definitely do just wish that he would just help me for one period. There's really not much else to say because every other teacher just sits down with you usually, and well, at least in the high school where I am, and they talk to you about work, they talk to you about what you need to do better, they talk to you about their class, the stuff that they're good at, whereas this guy, because he's just so new, he hasn't really done these assessments before, and it just feels like he's avoiding to do that. Which definitely does make me wish I got the other guy. The other Mr. Business, because that guy's just been doing it for so much longer. Even if my first impression isn't exactly that good of him, because of how he's just like... well, just pretty much the same, so I suppose that could be quite a defeating line. But for the most part, he seems more experienced with business, so maybe he might be able to do something. Because the one time I actually really, well, a few times I've actually talked to him, it's just me asking, hey, am I actually marked on the roll for this because I had to do this business pitch to a whole bunch of, well, Park Authority members from maybe a guy from Board of Trustees, I'm not sure if I'm being honest. I definitely had to perform in front of the principal, and my teacher was just like, oh yeah, you should probably be fine, and then we just don't leave here, and he was just doing it in a way so then I just would not worry about it. And then my teacher from my vocational class just goes into the room saying, "A bandit has not been marked on the roll." To which my teacher's, well, my business teacher's just like, well, or really the other business teacher's just like, just out of the room, he's just gone. And then I had to apologize to my teacher saying, oh, I thought I would already be marked, and then she was like, it's okay, it's fine. Well, and really, I feel like the business classes should be more organized, because another thing that the business class has done is just, I say, I have this color run going on, dude, with my business teacher, and before he can let me finish, he's just like, oh yeah, that's not important, so she just goes away, even though I was one of the classes actually organizing the event. So I was gonna decide, you know, I'm not gonna go on this damn trip. You can get scolded at for having a student wag the trip yourself. I'm just gonna get to this color run thing because it's worth like 5 credits, whereas this trip is worth 0. It's meant to help you in an exam. To which my parents then found out, and they just did the best thing possible, and they scolded my business teacher and the business teacher next door, just saying stuff like, look, we want our we want our son to actually get into these programs. Well, to be able to do both of them, I mean, because, like, I think a lot of the time when assessments cross each other, I'm supposed to just talk about it, to which, I mean, I tried to, but then my business teacher just ignored me, so I was just gonna pick my sports teacher's side, because I definitely do have to admit the color run was much better, and as much as I didn't know it yet, I was still gonna pick that just because of how it's generally more credits too. And if I had the choice, I'd still pick it again, because, well, as much as it does help me in an exam that I don't really need, it really isn't as good as just guaranteeing my university entrance at that point. At least that's what I'm thinking about it. So yeah, it's definitely really good of my parents to just do that. Still definitely appreciate that. But yeah, chat. If you guys ever want an easy class to pass, it's business, but the only requirement is you need to get friends. You need to have friends in order to get into that class. Because, well, as much as it's the easiest class to do stuff in, because there's 4 people working on it, it becomes the hardest when there's only 1 person working on it. So you definitely do need to make sure you have friends that work until the end of the year specifically, and that you can actually do it alright, because of what my group has done, they pretty much just went ahead of me at the start of the year, didn't let me get much of the information, and they just leave me blank because they've pretty much done a lot of the work, and one of them's just given up on school, and one of them's just left straight up. Oh, well, just straight up left, and then there was another guy who just never really did anything from the beginning. So it definitely is a complicated class if you go to it. Well, assuming that what happens in New Zealand happens everywhere else, which this could not be the case, honestly. It might just be a reality, but still, chat. It's definitely an idea about business. And something that I actually just remembered is the way how I actually got into Beamer Prime in the first place. I don't know whether I've told you guys about this yet, was through this person who was just talking about the dark reality of host clubs, which, if you guys don't know what that is, I'll give a brief summary, because I now know a lot about host clubs because of that little TED Talk that well, not TED Talk, just little video that I watched, to which pretty much what host club is it's pretty much where girls get dates with guys, because it's usually just a whole bunch of girls who just do stuff for men, but then there are also host clubs in Japan where guys do stuff for girls, and it's actually quite different how they roll, because a lot of girls in clubs instead just, well, don't usually get too touchy when it comes to people, because a lot of the time they're just serving wine and they're just there to look pretty a lot of the time, or dance or something else. There's a lot of the time with host clubs, there are generally some nasty people in there, because a lot of the time they have this thing where the first bit of alcohol is actually cheaper than alcohol in just other stores, because there are a lot of people who just go with their friends to just have a night out drinking just at different host clubs, and then it's just baiting out anyone who wants to stay in host clubs, because a lot of the time they just have guys who go with them for free at first, and then the guys just request more and more alcohol each time, because a lot of the time in host clubs, guys just need to be competitive in there, because a lot of people want to be top, to which they usually get a whole bunch more money, and they're just able to live easier, because a lot of what host clubs is just a quick way to make money, and a quick way to get a whole bunch of alcohol in your system. So then the video that I actually watched had a very good example of this girl who went with a friend, and then she actually fell for the guy that she picked to hang out with her. And it was just throughout the time, she was just sitting there, just buying just a beer for both her and the guy that she was there, and a lot of the time that there's just a lot of talk, and it really doesn't seem like a bad experience, if I'm being honest. Although just throughout the time, usually people in host clubs just get more mean, because, well, they want girls to spend a lot of money on them, because a lot of them are actually really sought after if they're just really good looking. Another one? Damn it! I have to ban a whole bunch of phrases, and now I have to ban another. Ah. I still need to learn how to actually delete messages, so then there's just nothing being advertised at all. Because I am tempted to just go into verified only channels, just so then it's just easier for, well, verified only chatters, I mean. Just so then I just do not get any of these guys, because I don't think they're verified. I mean, I don't really know what it is actually that you need to get verified with, but I certainly do think it will stop just some of these guys who just appear all the time. And I think I will generally research that because I'm just wondering how many times do I actually need this. Because usually it is just tagged, because there are just so many others too, and they get busted. Yeah, I'm not gonna do it now. But then it's also so tempting. It just always feels like a stain on a white cloth. Just having messages like that, because as much as it does technically advertise my channel to more people just from having one bot go and chat, I still just don't really like it how it's advertising their thing if it's just... If it was just their name or something, like me. But then again, that's actually worse. Never mind, chat. I don't think I'd do that, but... Yeah, for the most part, it just... Eh. I don't like those accounts. Never really do. It's actually insane how many bots are just on there just advertising streams, because I think I've got over 7 phrases blocked when it comes to bots now as well. Just there, so then I could just prevent any advertising from happening. So that's definitely annoying. I hate it. Because I sometimes think it's just also just a regular person chatting, and then I just have somebody who's chill there, but then no, it's just the one chat wonder advertising their own botted viewer thing, which the majority of the time they just don't even buy all the followers. Or, you know, not even buy all the followers, they just don't give all the followers that you buy. Because at this point it's just better to just go to every single one of my family members and just ask them to follow me, because honestly it's just more likely that it's going to succeed than just some stranger danger signs at this point, because there's only really one thing to say about that, and it's just a donation to a guy who sucks. Because if people keep getting money, they're gonna keep having this stuff posted, and then they're just gonna keep changing the site name because it always gets blocked. I would not be surprised if just one of the sites got blocked and now the guy has just changed their site name, and then it's just instead. Oh, I still don't want to say it, but I mean, it's there, chat. You guys are probably going to see it. I'm likely just gonna put in an auto blocker and just have that again, but yeah. If you guys see a message from underprepared, disleave, cuss, then yeah, don't follow whatever link they have. I don't really want you guys to. Because I know it's advertised to me, it's something that is being advertised to the streamer rather than the chat, but it's just not something I want to have up on there. Because chat, even if I grow slower, I don't want any of you guys to fall from this. I also do wonder when I'm gonna open a Discord server, because I have actually been thinking about it. Just almost having it just so some of you guys can hang out with me and then we can do some stupid stuff. One thing I've been really wanting to do with people is just saying English test and just a chat, and just have the person actually read it out saying English test. and then we just spam chat being like, let's go, W! And I mean, it's kind of awkward with one person because it just almost feels like you're laughing at them. But then when there's a lot of people just partying almost in your chat, then I feel like a lot more people would be much more inclined to feel happy about just not even really a raid, honestly. I mean, I could do it as a raid one day, just almost if I get a lot of people who want to do that. But then again, I also don't think it's that good to just raid a Japanese chat either. So maybe I will just do it with small parties instead, just so it's just some guy with just one viewer or something, and then he just gets the first taste of actually what it's like to have somebody, or at least some bodies with just a whole bunch of people. But yeah, I'll definitely have to become a lot more popular for that. I feel like I would have to at least be at Trilad equivalent of a fan base, to which I just don't have that yet. So I'm definitely going to have to stream for a lot longer in order to get that. Something else that I was actually watching today during my vacation of class was actually this Japanese streamer that I regularly watch just play Peak a lot, but sadly she's been going to other games now. And there was this game called Garden of Witches, which I was just surprised about how generally entertaining it actually was to just watch her play it. So it definitely is cool that I like streamers, because, I mean, all the time it's just me either looking for information or, well, supporting people that I like because, well, they've supported me. I mean, I'm starting to generally like Trilad streams and Dells's too. Although it just feels really difficult to watch people's streams that I just don't really know. And a lot of the time it just always feels like that just some other reason why I need to watch somebody stream, like just being generally friends with them, or they've done stuff for me, or I want to collab with them or something. At least that's how I feel at the moment. And then again, now that I'm thinking about it, I can just watch a lot of streams and I'm just not in my room. For some reason, I think a lot of the time just in school, it's just a different environment almost, where it's just you're sitting there just bored out of your mind, to which it just almost feels like it's more fun. I don't even quite know how to explain it, but it just feels more fun to just watch streamers at that time. As much as I do feel more comfortable just sitting down at home just with a whole bunch of junk food and a blanket, it's just something enjoyable about watching streamers just at a pretty packed place with a lot of people, even if they're not watching it themselves. That's just how I feel. I know sometimes there's background noise as well, just because of how, well, it always feels like just Trilad just sometimes mentions me, and it just generally feels good as well when I hear that, because I just remember just seeing that one clip of me, well, I don't even think it has been clipped yet, but just this one section of Trilad stream where he was just focused in on just seeing if I was just still AFKing in that one spot, because, well, I thought I was going to keep playing calls when I got back, and I was reasonably far in it, and that was just generally unexpected to just see him just almost shouting at me to leave because of how, I mean, I wasn't that far in it, and that it's just not that serious, even though I've been doing this for ages. And as much as I am not really going to go back to calls for a bit, just to get a secret ending, because, well, first of all, it's taken me so long to get into it, and Second of all, I just don't have as much free time. It's just generally not worth it at the moment, or as worth it as something like Tokyo Heights, which not only is easier, I am definitely going to say that is easier than the secret ending, because I know I did underestimate Tokyo Heights last time, admittingly, but yeah, I just do not see that being more tricky than, or taking longer than that secret ending of Cole's had to take for me. Actually, I haven't even completed it yet, so technically it's still going, but still. That's just something. Let's see, can I actually get somewhere? Nope. Would be nice if I could get somewhere. Eh. $700 series, here we go. And I'm only half joking. Actually, maybe not even joking. Because Devoid is gonna take so long. I said that I'll do it, so I'm gonna do it, but you know, it just feels just so boring if I just complete something that's just not that long, or just that isn't that challenging. But then with this being the complete perfect game for me of just how gloomy it is, I like glooms a lot of the time, and just of how consistent you have to be. I always love being consistent with stuff because it's very difficult for me to be sometimes. It's just great. It's just amazing. So I definitely do like Devoid, but it's so long. Because I was just generally just hoping to get to prison just by episode 7 even. Just being able to speedrun the first part of this game and be like, you know what, I'm up to the tricky bit now. I can just keep practicing every day, because a lot of people say that patience is what you need to complete the next bit. And then it's just, bam. I have to beat this area first, which has taken me 92 episodes so far. Which certainly isn't the greatest. I mean, I know I'll definitely complete Devoid eventually, but as much as I was thinking about completing something like Heavenly Tower afterwards, well, A, I'm not really going to because it doesn't have a badge, or at least I don't really know if I will. Maybe I might change my mind. It's a pretty nice hobby to do. I quite like Heavenly Tower and its looks. It's really well made, but it just doesn't have a badge, chat. I want a badge when I complete these things. So I probably won't complete Heavenly Tower because of that. Whereas Devoid, I especially love Devoid, not only because it has a badge, but because of how the owners just come in and give you the badge, which is by far the best method of doing it, because it just makes hackers go from these game ruiners to just laughable when you just see one just floating into the sky, just slowly, just trying to see if anything's in the big sea when there isn't. And it's just wild. So I definitely do just want to complete that. Well, this. Because just how many people try every single day, how many people try and use hacks too. Hilariously, I don't think any one attacks could ever make it. Unless they generally just hack the entirety of the game, to which, at that point, they'll get IP banned. Which would be hilarious. And I don't think there are too many developers like the Devoid community. Yeah, at this point I'm actually buying the donation Game Pass, just because. Just as give them a little something for keeping this game running. I'll have to get the badge and I'll just donate a whole bunch of Robux to them. Because I think at that point I have a lot of followers, and then I'd just donate like 5,000 to them or something if they're actually still there just monitoring the hobby, because I don't know if they will be. So yeah, definitely will be tricky. Yeah, chat, for the most part, I definitely do think I will. And if I don't, remind me, because I probably would have forgotten at that point. But then I know I still will want to do it. Unless one of the Devoid developers is just really rude to me, then maybe I might not be as inclined to do that. They just take multiple days to the point where I disconnect. Or even just the disconnection being what causes my failure, because I just are like, oh, well, that it could just have gone through the lobby again and failed. Oh, that's no good thing, and it's just bruh. It's just bruh. But for the most part, I don't think they like that at all. I don't even know how long that guy would have been waiting in order to get to the thing, so I really cannot say anything about that now. It's just worst comes to shove, but anyways, chat, I hope you guys enjoy the stream, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!